Good morning. Welcome to another beautiful day. Not that I could tell so far because it is pitch black outside.
It is. We are recording so early because there's a house being built across the street from us, and they tend to start at like 7:30.
Yeah, as soon as it gets light out, they're over there working right now. They got the rafters all put in. They were sheeting the roof yesterday, so we're expecting shingles to start very soon here, and it's pretty loud.
So we're up early enough where it's still dark outside. They don't work in the dark, so we know that we can record in peace and quiet as long as it's dark outside. So here we are.
So how's your beautiful morning? What are you doing at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday?
Some of you are in bed, some of you are in the gym, some of you are like having a nice quiet cup of coffee.
Some of you are on your way to work right now.
Yeah.
So we're with you. We're working also.
Yeah. And you know, it's not that 6 o'clock is that early, but 6 o'clock is pretty early to be like chipper and alert and thinking.
Yeah. Especially after a long day yesterday painting.
Yeah. I think I got home. What time did I get home? I don't even know.
Way too late.
It was nighttime.
I had lead team meeting. You were painting. So it was another busy day.
We had a small amount of sleep in between.
Yeah.
So, but here we are, and we are ready to roll. We have a good episode, I think, for you. I think you'll enjoy it.
I think it's going to be great. I don't think it's just a good episode. I think it's great.
Well, good. I hope so.
We're talking about one of my favorite things for other people to have.
I was going to say, wait, what?
Newborns.
I love newborns, but we're going to talk about that.
Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The Family Meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Osterkamps. I'm Thomas, and this is my wife, Lysandra.
Hello, and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 181 of the Family Meeting podcast. On today's episode, we're going to discuss the very first stage of parenting, the newborn stage. Now, this is a difficult stage, especially if it's your first. Those terrifying butterflies in your stomach of like, am I going to be able to handle this?
Can I do this?
What is this like? What do I expect?
Well, I just remember leaving the hospital, and it was almost like I committed a crime. Like I just stole this kid, and I'm like, are they really letting me leave the hospital right now with this kid? I don't know anything about.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
And that drive home, remember how nerve-wracking that was?
Like, don't get in an accident.
Like, you didn't want the car to like bump
don't hit a bump. Yeah. It can be a really difficult stage, but it's also one of the very best stages and so beautiful. I miss it so bad. And maybe you aren't in the newborn stage. And so you're thinking, why would I listen to this episode? Maybe you don't ever plan to be in this stage again. That's where we're at, aren't we, babe? We don't plan to ever have a newborn personally again.
I mean,
unless God does a miracle
in
your life.
It would be a miracle, or there'd be a lot of questions that I would have.
Yes. So we don't plan to be in that stage ever again either. So why listen to this episode? Well, it's okay, because this episode can help you in two ways. This episode can remind you what it was like to have a newborn and give you ideas of how to help a young mom who's there now or soon to be there. And we have a very good friend who is in our church who's pregnant and going to be having a baby soon. She'll be in this newborn stage, and we want to be a help and a blessing to her. So this episode is going to help us to know how to do that, and you for someone in your life. But the other reason that this episode may also be really good and help you is because maybe you're a grandparent, or maybe you are going to become a grandparent in the future. For us, that's like the next stage on is...
That's what I'm looking forward to in the right timing. I don't want it to happen anytime soon.
No.
But I will definitely look forward to the newborn stage then, for sure.
Yeah, grandparents in the newborn stage. I can't even imagine. It sounds awesome. So this newborn stage may come back into your life before you know it. So think about these things as we discuss the newborn stage today.
Well, and I'm just thinking about those grandparents because we have some good friends of ours who just found out that they're going to be grandparents again. And it'll be fun to be able to share that news. It's not public knowledge yet. So
yeah, but it is exciting. And like, I think that once you hit our age, not that we're like super old or anything. Well, depending on what you think old is. But.
When you reach our age, 43.
I'm
That's
39.
what we are.
No, we are not 43. I am 39. I am in my 30s. You are in your 40s. Big difference, babe. Anyway, it's like a long time ago that we had newborns. It's a long time ago since we were in this stage. And so this might be a good refresher course for some of us.
Most definitely. Before we jump into that, though, I want to encourage you to jump into our Facebook community group.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of it's a good group. We have a lot of fun in there, but we also have a time of, hey, asking questions. We've had people ask questions like parenting situations. What would you do in this? Cool. What do you recommend? Sometimes it's just, hey, can you just pray for me right now, or pray for a friend of mine? They've got this going on. We've got this going on. And to see the different people jump in and offer their wisdom, and that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's about being able to invest in the lives of other people. And I want you to be a part of that because you have something valuable to share.
Yes.
Your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience can help somebody else along. And it's exactly what we're doing with the podcast. We're trying to share our experience, things that we've learned from over the years, to make things a little bit easier for you. And you have that same opportunity to do that in the community group. And the thing is, like, certain people are going to relate well to me. Certain people are going to relate well to Lysandra. Certain people are going to relate well to you. Mm-hmm. And so you may have an experience that was almost the same as theirs. And you're able to share the things that you've learned, what God has taught you, to be a help and a blessing to others. So it's not just about coming in and getting a laugh or this or that. It's an opportunity for you to be involved. Mm-hmm. And so I want to encourage you to jump into our Facebook community group today.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about the newborn stage. Thomas and I both loved the newborn stage. I think I liked it more than you, probably, because I enjoyed just like sitting and holding the infant. And you liked that too. But you were excited for when they could wrestle with you and play and run away and all of those fun things.
I definitely love the newborns. I love holding newborns. One of my favorite things as a pastor is being one of the very first people to be able to hold the newborn babies that our people have. Mm-hmm. And it is exciting. And I love it when it happens. I love going through my Facebook memories and seeing those times pop up. But when it was my kids, I would love to hold them and cuddle them and all of that. But for the most part, they want and need mom in our situation because we breastfed our kids. So we're not saying that's what you have to do. That was just the circumstance of our family. And so they wanted mom. They needed mom a lot more than they wanted or needed me. And so, once they kind of got out of that stage because you did breastfeed them even after they started moving around and all that kind of stuff. But it was like they got to a point where they realized, oh, there's this other guy here too, and he's kind of fun.
And he's super fun. Yeah. So to be honest with you, Thomas,
yeah,
I want to do it all over again. I want another newborn. I want to get to do it again.
I'm not having reverse surgery, FYI. It's not going to be like that whole Office Michael Scott thing where it's like back and forth. That I've heard that takes a toll on a person.
Darn. Well, I'll have to let that go and just hold other people's babies.
When I die and you get remarried, then you can have another baby with your new husband.
Oh, sounds great. In a way, it does feel like the newborn stage was yesterday for us. But the truth is our last newborn was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
13 years ago. So it's not forever ago, but yet, some things you forget.
Well, and sometimes your teenagers act like newborns, and so we get to relive the moment sometimes.
Right. But because it was 13 years ago for us, we wanted to hear from some moms who are in the newborn stage right now or just coming out of it. Maybe they're in the toddler stage, but that newborn stage is fresh. In today's episode, we're going to share with you their thoughts about this stage of parenting, as well as give you some helpful information and encouragement from us.
And having a newborn isn't simple or easy. It's like being thrown in the deep end of the parenting pool right away. And all of a sudden, you have this tiny human who depends on you for absolutely everything. And like you said, sometimes it feels like just yesterday. And our firstborn is 18 years old. And so we walked out of the hospital a little over 18 years ago with our newborn. And I felt like a kid myself.
We were kids. I was 20. You were 24?
So it's just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, and I just holding her for the first time. Now, I have a brother who's 17 years younger than me. So my daughter was not the first newborn I'd been around. I'd watched, I'd spent time around. But it just felt different knowing I'm the one who's responsible here.
Yeah. To
take care of her. And it was just like, you know, so vulnerable, seemed very fragile. Mm-hmm. I learned by number 4, they're not as fragile as what I thought with the firstborn. But that's the way it just feels. And you have all these new feelings, and it's it can be a little overwhelming at times.
Yeah, I remember some friends of ours who had already had children. They were older than us. And we were about to have our first baby. And they said, you'll watch having a baby changes your husband. And I was like, changes my husband? I was like, what? And it's true, it did. It changed you.
I became a newborn.
You became a man. Like, you really did. You grew up a lot. Like, you became a protector, a provider, even more so than when we got married.
Yeah, and I thought I became a man 9 months before that, but it was really having the baby.
It was having a baby. All right, so here's the first question we asked our moms, okay? What's the hardest part of the newborn stage? What's the hardest part of the newborn stage? We're going to jump right into the difficult stuff.
What did you feel like the hardest part was?
I want to say 2 things. I know I'm supposed to say
you
one. I can
this.
never pick one thing. The hardest part was a lack of sleep.
Like, for
I was
sure,
so
yeah.
exhausted all the time. And then the second thing was just worrying about my baby. Like, is she getting enough food? Is she getting enough sleep? Is she sleeping too long? Is she breathing enough? Like, you know, all that kind of stuff. Am I spending enough time with her? Am I giving her to other people? Am I holding her too much? Am I putting her down too much? You know, like all that kind of stuff.
So the hardest part for me was sharing my wife.
Yes, you did not do well.
Because I was no longer 100%. Well, I was never 100% of your focus. But, you know, immediately it's like back burner. Because obviously the newborn takes a lot of time and attention. And there's things with the newborn that you can't just like shuffle around. Like when they're teenagers, you just kind of shuffle things around. But when they're newborns, it's not like, no, this has to be done right now.
Yes. Yep.
So honestly, that was the hardest thing for me, but it's just because I'm selfish.
Yeah, because you were a baby yourself and you wanted to be taken care of all the time.
I still do.
You want all that attention. Okay, so here's what our first mom said. I think the most difficult part of the newborn stage would be the lack of sleep. I hear you, girl. Especially when you already have older kids to take care of as well. So it's harder to nap when the baby naps. And everybody says that when the baby naps. And I'm telling you, moms with newborns, when the baby naps, nap. Okay? If you can, nap. I did that and that helped us a lot. But it's hard when you have older kids. And this is what she says, because that's when you have to help the older ones and give them the attention they need. Because finally, the newborn doesn't need you. Now, the older kids, they're either wanting help in school or they're wanting you to play with them or they want you to read them a book. And I will say this about juggling the older kids and the newborn stage. Whenever I nursed, I had a pile of books and little quiet toys right next to my nursing chair. And every time I nursed, my toddler would crawl up onto the nursing chair with me, and I would nurse the infant while reading the book to the older kid, or playing with the little blocks or whatever the little toys were.
Yeah.
And that really helped us. Now, at one point, I had an infant, a 1-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So that nursing chair got crowded, but we did it. All 4 of us would be up there on that chair. And so I would be playing with them while nursing so that when it was nap time, I could nap.
Well, and let me just say this for the dads out there, because in our situation, and this happens a lot, companies and businesses and even churches are doing a lot better about giving moms time off. And a lot of companies are even giving dad leave now too, which
awesome.
I think is great. But for us, you were off of work and I was still working full time. But, seeing how exhausted and how tired you are, there were nights where I would take turns with what I could do, getting up with the babies. And so, like for me, it'd be easy for me to say, well, you're nursing, so I can't feed her anyway. But no, there were times where I would get up and I would be the one to go get the baby when she was crying and bring her to you. So you didn't have to get out of bed and kind of
wake up all the way.
Yeah, exactly. Or there were times where she is fed and she's fine. I'll check the diapers and take care of her and give you nights where you could, as best as possible as a mom of a newborn, and you hear the baby crying and everything else, try to get some rest.
Yeah, that was really helpful.
Dads, make sure that you're being selfless and you're doing what you can do. Now, if your child is taking formula and you're able to take some opportunities and some turns feeding the baby at night, like that is awesome. And you need to make sure you're doing that because they've been through so much with childbirth and everything else and just being exhausted. They need that sleep as much as possible to get that energy to do what she needs to do.
And if you're breastfeeding, that takes a lot of energy as well. So
and you need that sleep to help with the milk production and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So.
Okay, one of our other moms says, feeling alone. I thought that was an interesting perspective. And I think you can become kind of cut off from everyone else because you're constantly needed by this little baby. You aren't alone and you might have a lot of help, but a lot of times the baby will only be comforted by you. Even though you might have help, you know what your baby needs. And so you just take over all the time. You don't get a break and it's hard for you to have gratitude and be selfless all the time.
Yeah.
Man, so true. When you become a mom, you realize I know that you felt this way as a dad, as the husband, your needs were put on the back burner. But the truth is moms are way, way back there. Our needs.
Oh, totally.
Needs become last.
You immediately go to last.
Yeah. And it's hard to all of a sudden be the selfless person that you know you're supposed to be.
And wives often put their husbands first. And husbands, you definitely should be putting your wife's needs first. But when a child comes along and you're a mom, it's like, okay, I've got my baby here. I've got my husband. I may have other children as well. And so you do what you have to do, and that means a lot of self-sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. And that is a really difficult thing. All right, you want to share what another mom says here, honey?
The most difficult thing is how selfless being a mother is.
Interesting. They say some of the same things, don't they?
You have to put your baby first, no matter how tired or hungry you are. And definitely the getting up in the night is one of the toughest things as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, as we've talked about already, that can be a lot.
Yeah.
Here's one from a twin mom.
Twin infants. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. And you wanted twins.
I would
have loved to have
so
twins
bad.
as well.
Oh, I wanted twins so bad. It wasn't what God had for us.
So, this is from a twin mom. So you've got double duty here now. Says the long nights and trying to figure out what was wrong with them when they were crying, and especially when you've got two of them, and I can't even imagine getting them to sleep, right? And one wakes up and starts crying and wakes up the other one who starts crying. It would just feel like these different movies where you've got the bomb squad coming in, and it's do I cut the blue wire or the red wire? And anything could set them off at any time. With twins, I feel like it would be a lot more difficult.
Oh, it would be so hard.
It was hard enough with an infant, a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. And so I can't even imagine when they're both infants. And this mom also says, also between the time of 5 p.m. to midnight, they call the witching hour. where they cry nonstop and anything you do doesn't help. All three of mine did this.
Ooh.
And it seemed worse with the twins, maybe because there were two of them,
Yes,
exclamation point.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, I can't even
Wow.
imagine.
Yeah, now we never had the witching hour. Our
No.
kids didn't do that. I mean, they cried like average, typical kids, like when they were hungry or whatever. But just to cry nonstop from 5 to midnight.
Yeah. And it would be difficult with two of them because, like I was talking about earlier, if you have one, like dad can take the one and get a break. But when you have two of them crying, like, yes, you can do it, but there's a lot less chance you're going to get a break. It's more like, hey, I'll take one, you take one, and we'll meet some point.
We'll both be exhausted forever. All right. I love what this mom says. Okay, so what's the most difficult thing about the newborn stage? Other people, haha, she says.
That's funny.
I love it. She said it was the same way when I was pregnant. People would come up and give me their horrific birth stories or why they thought I shouldn't be induced or why they thought I should get an epidural. Then with the baby, they would make comments like, you'll never sleep again, or just wait until he starts teething, or other negative comments like that. And it's just been very discouraging. I think instead of filling new parents with fear and dread, people should offer more positive comments like, it won't always be this hard, or you're doing a great job, mama, or just wait till he smiles at you for the first time, stuff like that. Wow, that's so good, right?
Yeah.
So good. Yes. People who are listening to this episode, please, let's learn from what this mom is telling us. Let's give the encouragement and not just talk about the horrible things that could happen or did happen to you.
And it's so interesting. I don't know why it is, but it's just the way that people are. They tend to do this about the negative, and people still do it to me now, and they do it to us now. Where we're like, hey, we have 4 teenage daughters, and everybody's like, oh man, like
I know.
What a nightmare, and I don't know what that is. Or how to change it, like this mom says. But yeah, try to be as encouraging and helpful as possible. And we've already touched on it, but this mom says transitioning from wife to mother and trying to balance everything.
Yeah.
And you know that is tough. It's any change and transition is difficult. But I don't know that there's a bigger transition in a woman's life.
No.
Because it's a transition when you go from, hey, being single and living by yourself to now living with somebody and being married to somebody.
That's hard enough.
But man, going from that to motherhood that's a big transition. And so having a good support system around you and goes a long way. But we feel you, Mom. We feel you.
Yes.
So what about this question? So that was kind of the most difficult. Here's a question we asked. What are your biggest worries?
I feel like I worried so much with Catherine, our firstborn. I didn't worry hardly at all with Violet. She was number 4. I mean, I just didn't.
Well, because what they say is true, right? I mean, it's just by the time the 4th one comes along, you're like,
That'll be all right.
they'll make it.
Well, with Catherine, I had hand sanitizer. No one was allowed to hold her or touch her for like 2 weeks. Once they could, then it was hand sanitizer first. Have you had a cold? Are you sniffling? You know, all those things. With Violet, I was like, who wants her?
Exactly. I need a break. Who wants to hold
this baby? No, it wasn't quite that bad, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just, you just look at everything so differently, and you just know from experience that they will get enough food, they will get enough sleep, they are going to be fine, you know, so. But I worried a lot with Catherine. Yeah,
and so here's what this mom said.
Okay.
I think all the Instagram reels I see because it made her worry more than anything. It's so easy to compare myself to another mom, my baby to another baby, my home to another home. And here's the great advice that she gives. She says, if I don't stop and remind myself that every mom is different and every baby is different, it can really get into my head.
Yeah.
And we can feel like, and I'm a big proponent of social media. I use social media. I think it can be a great tool. but I think it can also be very toxic. And you have to know and you have to understand that. And so if you are looking at these Instagram reels or Facebook reels or YouTube shorts and TikToks and you're saying, this is making me feel bad, this is making me feel like I'm not enough, like I'm not doing a good job, then I think it's a sign that you need to limit your exposure to those things.
Or get rid of them altogether.
And
it may be that.
Draw yourself to somebody who's being realistic, who's showing you and being authentic that, yes, it's hard, and yes, it's difficult, and we had trouble with this. Now, it's one thing to say, we had trouble with this, and this is what we did, and maybe you can do something similar, versus, hey, my home is perfection, my life is perfection, my family's perfection, I've got it all figured out. But yeah, it's good that she can recognize that this is an issue in my life. It's causing me to worry, because once you recognize that's the cause, then you can switch things up.
Yeah. This other mom says the thing that she worries the most about is if she's doing a good enough job. Okay, so that's going to be the rest of your life.
That's just mom guilt.
That's mom guilt. Yeah. Am I doing enough? Am I being enough? Am I meeting all of the expectations of myself, the expectations I've put on myself, the expectations other people have of me? It is tough. And so let me just tell you right now, Mama, you're doing a good enough job. You are enough. Great job. Keep going.
Yeah. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Okay. Just do your best, and that's good. That's good. Here's this, Mom. I would worry if I was doing my best for them. It's so hard in the beginning. Well, for me it was. Especially if you have postpartum, which was worse when I had Raylan. Postpartum is terrible, exclamation point.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before on different episodes. And it can definitely complicate things with the newborn. We're talking about that newborn stage, and you can get these feelings, a lot of horrible feelings, and wondering why am I feeling this way? Whether it's about yourself, whether it's about your baby, and everything else. And one of the things that we encourage you to do, if you're having feelings that are just not normal to you and who you are, right? And you're not having normal feelings of attachment and love for your newborn, make sure you seek out some counseling,
right,
and get some help for that. It's a very real issue, very serious issue. And so get that help for you, and that will help you to be the best mom that you can possibly be. And she's right. It can be so difficult having that newborn in the beginning.
That's right. Okay, here's what this mom says. Her biggest worry is raising up a child in this culture. I worry about the growing hatred towards Christians. Will my kids be persecuted for their faith? What is the world going to look like in 10 years? And on a less spiritual level, I worry about potty training because it's the worst. Amen, sister. No, I've now had stages pregnancy through 18, and potty training was the worst.
Yeah.
I can honestly say that. All the way through, I thought to myself, I think potty training is the worst stage of parenting. I'm pretty sure it's the worst. I'm like almost at the end of the 18-year stretch anyway, and potty training's the worst.
Yeah. And I understand what this mom is saying about, raising your kids up in the culture and having a little fear and worry about what the world's going to be like for them and what they're going to have to experience. But I'll just say this, not downplaying your feelings at all. I just want to kind of give you some hope and some encouragement. God is faithful.
Amen.
And God is strong, and God is able to take care of your kids and give them the strength to go to whatever they need to go through. I firmly believe, like Esther says, that we're put here for such a time as this. And so if your child is being born into this day and this time and this culture, it's because they're exactly who God wants to be able to use in this day and this time and this culture. And God will give them everything that they need to accomplish what it is that he wants to accomplish. His word has continued to go forth in spite all of his opposition, all persecution, all struggles. His people have continued to go forth in spite of all of that because he is strong, he is faithful, and he will watch over them. And I know that you're like, well, I don't want my kid to have to go through that.
Yeah.
Right? And I understand that. I don't either.
Right.
I don't want my daughters have to go through that. But it brings peace and comfort knowing the God that they serve, knowing the Savior that they have, that no matter what happens, it's going to be okay.
Amen.
And God is going to use them to do a great work in our lifetime, their lifetime.
That's right. Okay, this other mom says that she was worried that he wasn't getting fed enough or that I do something wrong and mess up his development or something. Man, do I relate to that. It is really, really nerve-wracking about that because you're all that responsibility is placed on you to feed him and everything that he needs. What if I mess it up? So I understand that worry. But all of you moms out there, you newborn moms, maybe it's your first one, maybe it's your fifth one, you are the right mom for your baby. Yeah. And God has given you an instinct to be able to handle everything that comes up in a good way. And you just trust the Lord and you trust your instincts and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and nobody knows your baby better than you. And so, as you said, trust those instincts. And you'll just know. You'll know when things aren't right.
Yep.
Like something's just not right here and I need to seek out some help, and that's okay.
Yeah, and go do that. Trust those instincts. Yeah, follow it.
So, great advice.
All right, speaking of advice, we asked our moms to give other newborn moms advice, and I love what they said. So let's take a look at that. Here's what one mom says. Give yourself a lot of grace.
That's like the hardest thing, I think, for a lot of moms to do.
Oh, it's impossible. Like my 18-year-old daughter just told me last week, and I'm way past the newborn stage. She said, Mom, stop being so hard on yourself. You would never be that hard on any other mom. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm gonna work on it. And I turned around and I looked at her and I was like, I'm not gonna work on it. In other words, I'm still gonna be this hard on myself and give everybody else grace, right? Because I know myself. But let's try, moms. Give yourself a lot of grace. This mom says, don't be afraid to ask for help. Yes, because you will need it, whether you want to admit it or not. And honestly, just stay calm as much as possible. They feed off your energy. So if you're constantly stressed and worried, etc., they will be too. That's great advice.
Yeah.
And really true.
And like she says, don't be afraid to ask for help, for one thing, but also don't be afraid to accept help. When you have trusted people in your life, not talking about just some person you don't know very well, because we all have people when we have newborns who are like, I'll watch your baby anytime. Well, no, I don't really know you. I'm not going to let you watch my baby. But I'm talking about the trusted people in your life when they come to you and say, hey, let me watch your newborn baby so you can go out to dinner or you can go shopping or whatever it is, or whether you just want to lock yourself in a room and take a hot bubble bath and just chill.
Yeah.
Be willing to accept the help that people are offering, because a lot of times people are offering, they do want to help. They may not know how or what you need. And so maybe the help is, hey, I don't really want to run to the grocery store. Can I give you my list? Yeah. So things like that.
Or if you have older kids, taking the older kids off your hands so that when the baby naps, you can nap. Or when you're nursing, you can just relax. You're not worried about like the toddler getting into the baby powder and dumping it all over the bedroom. Yeah. Remember when that happened? Yeah. So maybe taking the older kids.
All right. So here's this advice. And this might be my favorite advice.
Okay.
This is the thing about the newborn stage that I miss most of anything, because our kids aren't really here anymore as far as in this stage.
Yeah.
Enjoy and cuddle that baby as much as you can. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that because I have teenage daughters now, and there are times where they get cuddly, but it's just not the same. Mm-hmm. It's not the same.
It's sweet in a different way, though. But yeah, Yeah.
Like we'll walk along and one of them will grab my arm and kind of lean into me and things like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and we have coffee in the mornings, me and the girls, every morning, and a lot of times one of them will sit next to me and hold one of my hands, and my other hand is my coffee hand.
yeah.
And we just we snuggle under a blanket on the couch, and that's really special. But this is a different kind of cuddling.
Definitely.
It lasts as long as you want it to.
And she says, I know everyone says this, but the mess really is not worth stressing over. Mm-hmm. They grow up too fast. Don't worry about spoiling the baby by holding them too much. That being said, when you need a break, take it. Let someone come hold your baby while you shower. Let your husband take over for a couple of hours while you get out of the house.
Yes.
Also, remember that God loves that baby more than you do, and he has placed them here at this exact time for a purpose, just like we were talking about earlier. All he does is good.
Yes.
Trust his plan for their lives. That's
Such good advice.
That's great advice from this
These
mom.
moms need to start a podcast. They're good.
Well, and that's what I was just saying about the Facebook community group earlier.
Yeah.
It's in this group where you have an opportunity to take your advice, and your experience and be able to share that and be a help and encouragement to so many people. And it's one of the reasons I love episodes like this, where we're hearing from all these different sources, because this is amazing advice.
That's right. Here's what another mom says. Make time for God first, even in the busy season of having a newborn, and put all your worries in God. That's how I've gotten through it. Wow. Isn't that great? I love that. It's so good. Such good advice for all of us.
So let me ask you this. This is good advice. But let's make it a little practical for moms, because having been in the newborn stage yourself, when she says make time for God first, what are some ways that you did that personally?
So the very first way that I did that is I had a Bible by my nursing chair as well. So seriously, moms, have a nursing chair. It's so helpful. Obviously, you have to nurse wherever you have to nurse, but even if you're bottle feeding too, and you sit with your baby and hold them while you feed them, have a spot where you have everything you could possibly need while you're sitting there, including water. Okay, you need your water. But anyway, I had my Bible there, and I would always read my Bible throughout the day, and if I had it there, I knew I wasn't going to miss my Bible time, because I was definitely not going to miss nursing time. So my Bible was right there, and I was able to take that time where you're forced to sit. And for me, it was so hard to be forced to sit. But since that was my time to pray. That was my time to read my Bible. I remember just staring at my baby while she was eating. And this goes for all four of them. And just praying over my baby, praying for all the things about my baby. So just praying and having that Bible time, even though things are crazy. But nursing is a great time for that.
And I'll say this as a lead pastor. This is not a dad position, okay?
Okay.
As a lead pastor, if you are in a good, healthy church, they're okay hearing your baby at church. Mm-hmm. And so when you're ready, I'm not saying right away, but when you're ready, especially with your first baby, don't be afraid to take them to church.
Yeah.
And if you don't want people to hold them, just leave them in their little car carrier.
Buckled up.
That's what we did. And so we just had some very faithful beachsiders just became grandparents. And
that
so
baby is so precious.
Their kids came to church, and they brought the granddaughter with them. And I'm up there speaking, and I can hear this little newborn just making a few little noises, not
she wasn't
not
naughty.
causing a scene,
She was
just
the sweetest
just
thing.
being a regular child. Mm-hmm. And looking over and just thinking, what a wonderful thing, to have this newborn baby in these parents' life and this grandparents' life. And I thought it was just great that they brought her to church. And your pastor and the people in your church will feel the exact same way if you're in a healthy church. They love to see the joy that a new child brings. And so do make sure that you're bringing that child up in that positive environment.
Right. And speaking of putting God first, even though you're in this busy season, going to church is a really big part of that because you need to be fed. You need to have people pour into your life. And if you isolate, it can't happen. So make sure that you don't isolate and get back into church as fast as you are able and comfortable with.
Well, and you think about some of the things that have been shared and talked about already is being a mom, you can often feel alone, like you don't have help and all these sorts of things. One of the best places you can go to get that help and support and encouragement is with people who are like-minded, who are going the same direction, have the same goals, the same mission, and all those sorts of things. And so finding a good, healthy church where they'll support and encourage you.
Yeah, and in my newborn stage, I came to church right away because like I love people, I love church. I couldn't stay away. So like I think that most of our kids weren't even a full week old when we brought them into church because as soon as we had them, like the next service, I was there because I just loved it, right? But I kept my baby with me for 3 months. The first 3 months, that baby came with me wherever I went in church. So if I was teaching, the baby came to me with me and I taught with the baby. Most of the time I would have her schedule planned out so that she could be sleeping and had just been fed when I was up teaching. And then she would be in her car seat, buckled in, right up there with me.
In the car carrier. Yeah, and we'd let people see the baby, but it's very, very buckled in, and so it's well understood, and most people are very respectful.
Yeah, but I will say this, after I think it was about 3 months, sometimes 4, once I dropped that baby off in the nursery, oh, what a relief. I didn't have to worry about the pacifier or the feeding or the diapering or the crying. It was just like, it is a break. So keep that in mind, moms. Don't be afraid to put your kids in the nursery when you're comfortable with it, because that's such a good break that you can get every single week or more.
So this mom says this, so cliche, but it's true. The nights are really long, the days are short. You have such a little time of the newborn phase. Don't wish it away, even though I know it's hard during that time.
Such good advice.
Hold them as much as you want because they are only little for a short season. The newborn season can be challenging, but all seasons have its challenges. I'm now in toddler stages, and we are on to talking back, the it's mine phase, and everything isn't no when you ask them something. Newborns don't talk back. I just want a little baby again.
I know, me too.
She says.
Man, everything she said is just so good.
But I like that. I like the positive encouragement. Now, she's giving a little bit of fear for the toddler stage. It's coming. But it's great that she's saying, hey, just enjoy that moment. Soak it up. Don't wish it away.
Yes.
Because I think we can do that.
I say that about every stage, though. Don't wish away your stage.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to do that.
And then before long, you've kind of wished away the life with them. And honestly, it's so fast. I just can't believe we've got an 18-year-old who's graduating in just a couple of months. And, it seems like just yesterday she was this newborn. It goes so fast. This is great advice from this mom just to soak it in.
Mm-hmm. Here's what this mom says. It doesn't matter what the house looks like. Just be present with your baby and really soak in these moments. I think that's good.
And you notice a reoccurring theme from these moms who have not talked to each other about this?
Yeah, none of them. Many of these moms don't know each other.
But the same advice, just soak it in, enjoy it. The mess is going to be there. And so just spend that time with your baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, last one. I love this. Enjoy it. It goes by so fast. Yes. Don't wish away the current phase in anticipation for the next phase. And secondly, give yourself grace. You and your baby are both learning so much together. Don't be hard on yourself, and remember to ask God for the wisdom you need. So this is what's cool. These moms are from like 6 different states, and only 2 of them know each other. 2 of them are actually sisters, but everybody else, none of them know each other.
Yeah.
And look at what they're saying, women. And what I like to tell women all the time, and parents in general, we're all dealing with the same things in our houses. We're just dealing with them in different houses, okay? But we're all dealing with the same things. So talk to each other. Talk about it, because you can help each other. And these women are saying the same things.
And part of that is just, and it's hard. I know it's very hard. letting that facade down of perfection.
Right.
And once you can let that facade down, it helps the other ladies, the other parents in your life let their facade down, and where we can really share with each other, really help each other, really encourage each other. Someone has to go first. Someone has to be willing to go first,
right,
and be authentic and be vulnerable. And I want to encourage you to be that person in your life, because as Lysandra said, we are all going through the same thing. It's just different houses, right? I'm not the first parent that is getting ready to graduate their firstborn, and they're stepping up and becoming way more independent, right? And so I'm not the first person, and you're not the first person either. So none of us are perfect. And I just love the advice that these parents give.
That's right. So maybe you are not the parent of a newborn. Maybe the newborn stage is a long way in the rearview mirror for you. But you might know someone who's pregnant. You might know someone who just had a baby. Let's reach out to these women. Let's do something to help them. If they're in our area, like, I mean, we can send a quick message. If they're a long ways away, we can encourage verbally or whatever. But I'm thinking of the women who are near you, the parents who are near you.
Yeah.
Do something to help them. Offer to take the older kids. Offer to hold the baby. Sometimes just holding the baby in their home so that they can go do dishes or whatever is a huge help. Or like the one mom said, take a shower. Get them groceries. Give them a gift card to McDonald's so they can take their little tiny kids out for Happy Meals that makes them so happy. And do something nice for them. Be there to help them. And this is the last thing that we want to leave you with. You are the perfect parent for your baby. Whatever's happening with your newborn, you are the parent that that baby was supposed to have. There was no mistake. You aren't too young for that baby. You aren't too old for that baby. You aren't too busy for that baby. You are the perfect mama and daddy for that baby.
Yeah.
And you can do this. You have the help of the Holy Spirit. You have the help of God. You have the help of your friends and family. You're going to get through this, and it's going to be great. And you can do a fabulous job. You are doing a fabulous job. So let go of the mom guilt. Let go of the dad guilt. You're doing a great job with your child. Just keep on going.
And so here's our family meeting for tonight. And Lysandra, you touched on this. And that is, you want to sit down with your entire family and just have a discussion about the people who are in your life right now that are either they have a newborn or they're getting ready to have a newborn, whether it's their first or their seventh. They're getting ready to have a newborn. That is a challenging time. And if you have a newborn right now, you know that, you see that, you understand that. And so what I want to encourage you to do is to have a discussion about how you can be a help to that family.
Yes.
And if you are close enough to that family to help watch that newborn, great. Volunteer and offer to do that. If you're not close enough, please don't volunteer to watch that newborn.
Just give them a meal.
Exactly. Yeah. Send them some food, order some pizza and have it delivered to their house or something like that.
Don't be the creeper stranger who's like, let me hold your newborn.
Yeah. I just want to sniff their head. Like,
whoa, okay, freak.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't know them that well, don't offer to do things that close friends and family do. Do other things. Get them some groceries and things like that. But think of ways that you can support, you can help, you can be an encouragement, and just let them know, hey, you're not alone in this. And we have an amazing couple in our church who have a heart to be a blessing to families, and we have connection groups at our church that are sermon based, and they take what was talked about Sunday and they talk about it and how they can apply it and all those sorts of things. And so this couple that they remember what it was like to have families and be so busy. And so what they did to make things easy as possible for these families is they started a connection group that met right after church. So that if you've got young kids or newborns or whatever else, you don't have to go back out of the house, because sometimes that's a whole chore in and of itself. And
they feed them lunch too.
And it's going well. But see, they remembered what it was like, and they thought about, how can I help these families?
Yes. So cool.
How can we be an encouragement? And that's what I want to encourage you to do is, all right, remember what it was like. If you've had newborns, you can remember. But even if you haven't, right, just you can think of how to be a help, how to be an encouragement. And if nothing else, you can just ask. And just knowing, even if they don't have you do anything, just the fact that somebody asked, that means a lot. And so that's family meeting tonight, is think about those people, identify them, and then figure out what you can do to be a help and a blessing.
Thanks for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org, or email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like to shoot us a text or call us, you can send a voice message at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting as we talk about divorce.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to talk about divorce. We're actually going to do a 3-part series on the 3 leading causes of divorce. We're going to look at divorce statistics in our nation, and in each 3 episodes, we're going to talk about one of the 3 leading causes of divorce and how can we kind of basically prevent it from happening to us. How can we be aware of these big issues that cause conflict and eventually lead to divorce? What can we do?
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned. Oh, it was fun reminiscing about the infant stage.
I truly, truly miss it.
I started getting a little emotional when I was talking about Catherine leaving and just remembering, because it seems like, literally yesterday, she was this big. And she's our smallest child. So she's like this big now, but here she is, getting ready to go off into the world.
Yeah.
And I'm just having a hard time. Like, we're in our living room now. We were sitting in our kitchen around the island just last night having a conversation about something, an opportunity. She had to go somewhere and do something. And I'm just like, if you were 17, I wouldn't even consider this. But you are 18, and I trust you, and you've not given me a reason not to trust you. And so it's just weird. It's weird being in that stage of, she's practically an adult. Now, she's still very much a child, but she's practically at that stage where if she wanted to, like, she could just leave and there's nothing I could do. But it feels like just yesterday she was my little baby, my firstborn. And so I felt myself getting kind of emotional about it.
Yeah.
But like these moms said, it goes by so fast.
But knowing that it goes by so fast doesn't change the fact that it goes by so fast. Like, you can't slow it down. You can try really hard to cherish the moments and live in the moment and all of that. And I definitely wish I would have videoed more.
Yeah, capture the moment. I think that's one thing, one piece of advice I would add to this is, don't just cherish it, but capture it, because pretty soon that's all you'll have left of that stage.
Yeah, and it's really hard. Like, it's hard to have memories in and of themselves. Like, when you see a picture, it'll spark a memory. When you see a video, it brings back the memory. But just to lean on your own memories on your own is so hard, because you get older and things are gone.
Yeah.
And I've heard that even of people older than us, that it really goes away. So that's our advice.
So what advice do you have about newborns, parenting newborns and all of that? Put it in the comments. We'd love to have a further discussion with you there. But with that, we'll see you right there in the comments. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.